Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session on trending career options in AI and analytics. I'm sure it must have been a long day, and we really appreciate you joining us here today. So, before starting, a couple of requests. Please mute yourself and turn off your videos so that our speakers are not disrupted. This session is organized by Products by Women in association with Women in AI Canada. Products by Women is a diverse global community of women in innovation, tech, and beyond. Here we can learn from peers, find jobs, and mentors. And I found Products by Women in 2019 and joined the group on Slack. This is a phenomenal community of women where there is so much support for each other. You can engage with us by attending our workshops and events or explore job opportunities, submit your articles to be featured on the website or listen to the podcasts. You can connect with us on LinkedIn and Instagram, join us on Slack, follow our Medium blogs, or visit us on the website. We have recently announced the first annual Products by Women Awards. Don't forget to apply or nominate your colleagues and friends in these categories. You could be an engineer, designer, marketer, business analyst, project manager, or product manager. Don't forget to apply. With that, let's jump right into the introductions. I'm Neha. I work as a delivery manager at Nanopec Operations in Toronto. I have worked in product development, delivery, and commercialization roles in the financial services industry. A fun fact about me is that I have spent over 5 days in the British Museum, and I'm yet not done. Maybe I've spent too much time reading everything. So I'll be your moderator today. And our first speaker is Frincy Clement. Frincy is a machine learning practitioner currently working in the data sciences team at Alta ML. Previously, she has held various strategy roles in business and marketing, working with startups and bigger enterprises in Dubai and Canada. She has MSc in computer science from the University of Alberta and holds an MBA from Indian Institute of Management. She is an active contributor to the AI community, offering mentorship and organizing events. She is currently the marketing and tech talk organizing lead for Canada at Women in Artificial Intelligence. Our second speaker is Deepti Tadala. Deepti is a product manager at Synacor. She works on their identity management platform, managing their roadmap and G2M strategy for their consumer product line. Prior to venturing into product space, she has close to 4 years of technological consulting experience from one of the big fours. Deepti holds a master's degree in information systems with a major in software product management with a specialization in analytics. Her graduate researches were based on IT strategy and marketing analytics in product management. Deepti is a voracious reader. She is also a poet who writes under the pen name The Eklavya. Today we will talk about data. Frincy, Deepti, and I have different career backgrounds and different career journeys. We also have different learning paths, but the common thread here is deriving insights from data. I have worked in traditional banking systems using large databases, running SQL, PLSQL blocks, using Cognos, Excel, VBAs, and macros to interpret data and derive customer and product insights. Frincy is a machine learning engineer, and Deepti is a product manager who uses different data analytics tools to derive KPIs. With that, let me hand over to Frincy to talk about machine learning and AI. Over to you, Frincy.
Thank you, Neha. So let me start by sharing my screen. I hope you can see my screen right now. So hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on in-demand career options in artificial intelligence. My name is Frincy Clement once more, and I work in the data science team at Alta ML, which is one of the best AI scale-ups in the country with over 100 plus employees, and half of them are machine learning practitioners. So I'm so fortunate to learn every day from each other, about different concepts and different techniques. And, every day is a new day in machine learning. So talking about AltaML, so it has a legacy of elevating business through the power of AI, backed up with an experience of solving hundreds of use cases with clients over multiple industries. So today I'm planning to talk about, giving you a bit of introduction of AI, how the AI product lifecycle would look like, what are the key tasks, skills, and roles in AI project, and some starting steps for your career in AI based on my experience. And I will hand it over to Deepti after talking about, how a non-technical person can enter into the field of AI. So before we dive right into understanding AI, one important questions all of us would have is there's a lot of hype about AI. Is it real or not? So as per the 2020 LinkedIn report for the emerging jobs in US and Canada, the top one position is grabbed by AI specialists. So you can see it is growing by around 80% year over year. There is also a huge demand for roles like data scientists and data engineers. So this is a good time if you want to transition to a career in AI. So let us start by understanding what exactly is artificial intelligence. So in simple terms, it is the intelligence demonstrated by a machine. They are trying to mimic the thought process and actions of humans so that it can learn and solve a problem. But when you look at it, there are different terminologies you would see every day, like AI, machine learning, deep learning. So how are they similar or different from each other? So AI is, as you can see from this diagram, it's more like an umbrella term for any computer that mimics all or part of human intelligence. So machine learning essentially is like a subset of AI, which enables the computers to learn by itself rather than we explicitly program it. So it looks at the data, try to understand some patterns, features, and then learn by itself. So deep learning is again a subset of machine learning, where the data gets passed through something called as artificial neural networks, and there has been a lot of advanced which is getting used in a multiple industries in different applications. So data science essentially is a multidisciplinary field which uses these techniques, like it can be a machine learning or a deep learning technique, and it actually tries to solve a business problem. So it involves like collecting data, processing it, exploring the key insights in the data, then modeling on the data so that we can derive some meaningful insights from it and solve a business problem. So machine learning algorithms can be divided into three types, like supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. In the interest of time, I'll just explain the difference between supervised and unsupervised. So the key difference between supervised and unsupervised is that for supervised learning, the answers of the data, or you have a certain labeled data set. But in unsupervised, you don't know the answers or you don't have a labeled data set. So I'll quickly go through, there are different applications you can see using AI in various sectors. So there are some common applications across sectors, like modeling a customer propensity model or customer segmentation. So these are some good, common use cases you would find across different sectors. But there are certain specific applications in some industries, like in healthcare, there is like medical diagnosis. So talking about medical diagnosis, I will just quickly explain one of the business use case that my company has been involved with, one of the largest pathology labs in North America, which is DynaLife. So DynaLife takes millions of samples per year and submit to physicians. And a significant number of them was detecting colon polyp biopsies. So the problem that they were facing was, if the right information is not find in the slides that they are looking, they need to look for more sample. And it added to the turnaround time, which is like the time to diagnose whether there is cancerous cells or not. So it was taking up a lot of the valuable pathologist time. So what we did by how we applied the machine learning techniques were, we tried to analyze the slides, which slides contain the right information, if the right information is present or not. So we kind of helped the pathologist so that it is easier for the pathologist to make that diagnosis. So it improved the speed of diagnosis and also effectively utilized that pathologist's time. So here we use computer vision techniques to improve a business process. Now, let's talk about how a data science lifecycle would look like. So as you can see, it all starts from a business understanding. So what is that business use case? How does that domain looks like? How can we define that use case or that business problem? So then we look at different data and what are the different data sources available, and identify what are those sources that could be useful for solving this problem. Then once we identify those data, it goes through a set of cleaning and exploring, and then we try and look at this data to understand some key insights that could help solve this business problem. And from this data and this insights, we try and look at some features which are more relevant which could be used for modeling so that we can solve this business problem. So then we try a bunch of modeling techniques and we evaluate models to choose the best model based on certain metrics. So this modeling and data acquisition and data exploration process are like iterative. So we go back and forth between them so that we get better features and better models. So once we have a model, we deploy and then monitor the performance over time. So if you look at it, there are some key tasks that are performed in an AI product lifecycle, and it can be divided into these 5. So, if I talk about data engineering, so it is basically the person who is responsible would prepare and transform the data into a format that other team members can use. Then in modeling, they look for some patterns in the data that can predict outcomes or resolve a business problem. So when it comes to deployment, so once you have a model, so the person would take a stream of data, they would take the best model and then integrate it together, test it, and then put the model into production. Then you also have business analysis, where you evaluate the model's performance, you evaluate the key insights, and then present it back to the business in a way that they can understand. So all of these 4 tasks are supported by AI infrastructure, where they are solely responsible on building and maintaining that AI solution or AI application, which is like fast and scalable and secure. So if you look at these different key tasks, there are different roles associated with each of the tasks. These different roles are different based on some specific skills that they need so that they can be part of this AI product lifecycle. So I'll quickly so I will be going through each of these roles in detail in the coming slides. So I have actually put together some key technical skills that could be like a starting point for all these key tasks. So these are by no means not an exhaustive list. So these are like a general list of skills that the recruiters or the company you're applying would look for. But it changes from company to company what skills that they really need. So if you look at a data scientist role, what you can see is data scientist is mostly working on understanding and preparing the data. Then he also needs to have that data science and machine learning concepts, some statistical thinking, some math knowledge. So, and they also need to have that business acumen. Business acumen is very important because they need to be able to understand the business use case and also present it back to the business. So that communication aspect is also important in a role for data scientist. So how a data scientist is different from a data analyst is in such a way that so they are looking at the data, they are looking at those insights, and then they try and talk to the business about what that value or what that insights is about. But they necessarily not have that machine learning knowledge or concepts, in their kit. So a machine learning engineer is slightly different from a data scientist in such a way that machine learning engineer would look at a product AI use case from end to end, so that they would start with data engineering, like preparing, transforming data. Then they would do all the modeling, and they are also expected to understand putting the model to production. So like understanding that machine learning concepts as well as a bit of software engineering skills are also required for this particular role. Then moving on, if you are a researcher, like if you want to do research in machine learning, then instead of the business acumen, what you really need is a research acumen. That is, being inquisitive, being curious about trying to find some novel methods or improving the current existing state of the art methods. So that is what you are going to have. So here, so there would be you are expected to understand how do you prepare your and transform your data. You need to have your modeling concepts, but you're not really expected to put the product in production, because you're trying to do a proof of concept, like you're trying to prove that concept so that your research can be taken to the next level. So then if you are a software engineering in machine learning, here you are kind of expected to have some understanding of machine learning concepts, and along with the software engineering skills that you have, so that you can work with the machine learning team and then integrate the models that they are developing and deploy into production. So it is slightly different from or very different from a regular software engineer role, in such that a regular software engineer, they are not expected to understand machine learning concepts, but they are the one who would be like handling most of the load on the infrastructure side. Like once you have all these models and data pipeline and everything ready, how do you put together all these components and then create that solution? So that is what you would expect from a software engineer. So now, so what are those, if you are looking for a technical role, then, you are expected to understand, you should have a programming expertise. You should have some sort of, machine learning, deep learning concepts. There is some statistical thinking that you need to do. So domain knowledge is always welcome. Like if you are from a specific domain, like, geosciences or healthcare, your expertise would reflect in the use cases that you're trying to solve. And always like the way that the use cases are going is everything is going into scalable big data. So understanding and understanding of the big data and able to give solutions on scalable data is always appreciated. So how can you showcase your skills back to your recruiters? So masters and PhDs are mostly asked by recruiters because it is kind of a like a proof that you have gone through those courses and done some project work and academic work on it. But if you have an awesome GitHub portfolio, if you have an awesome Kaggle competition scores, then you can showcase that and then get an edge in front of recruiters. Then there are like, if you're applying for a machine learning engineer roles, then certifications on these cloud technologies are also appreciated, and they also welcome that. So so I would like to, just put this out there, like some of the courses that I have taken before even I took my master's, so that I can get an understanding of the machine learning concepts. So some courses like machine learning and deep learning specializations by Andrew Ng on Coursera, those are like some most suggested courses that you can take to get that, get that initial, basic foundational understanding on machine learning and deep learning. Then I've also taken this machine learning A to Z course on Udemy, which kind of gave me like a overall understanding of what are the different types of algorithms in machine learning that is available. I also did a Python specifically for data science and machine learning. Then I've also tried some Kaggle competitions, but these are just like the starting things that you would do. But then I did my master's, and I also applied all of these concepts on different projects, different use cases, independent projects, and also my academic projects. And I went to a lot of different Udemy courses to get those more and more concepts in my inbuilt, so that I can look these use cases from a more data science statistical way. So what if you're not a programmer? So what, like, if you are a non-technical person, you don't know programming and you want to enter the career field into AI. So if you are someone like that, you can also enter a career into AI. So if you are a rock star product owner or a project manager or a business development person, you can also enter, in a company like Altair. We need all of these rock stars, because even though we create the solutions, but we wanted the business. So the businesses should understand the value that is getting created by these solutions, so that they can understand the value that AI is going to do or improve their business processes. So what you need in addition to your knowledge in product as a product manager or a product project manager is that knowledge in AI. So some courses that they can list down here is like, if you should have some sort of understanding on what is AI, what are the different applications, and what opportunity this AI is going to give you. So like some courses I've listed down here, like AI for everyone. And if you have time, you can also do some hands-on data science courses just to get a bit of an understanding. You necessarily need not have that programming skills, but you can always use some cloud tools and try and work things and see how this feels like. So, and having that Scrum knowledge or certification Scrum methodology is also welcome. Some other things that you can do is active involvement in some community related to data science or AI, and find that mentor who can give you some understanding and that career track of how can you develop yourself at each part of your career goal. So if you can find a mentor or more mentors, and also be part of a community that you can contribute and be associated with, that will help you a long way in developing your career in AI. So these are some of the communities that that are there in Canada and also in US. So you're welcome to join them and understand what it takes to enter the career of AI. I would like to end this talk by talking about a statement by Andrew Ng, saying that AI is the new electricity. So electricity has transformed many industries. So AI is here. AI is here to stay. So if you can get that understanding of AI and the different applications and how your company or how your business can use AI to improve business processes, that will help you in a long way in your next career transitions. So with that, I would end my sessions and hand over the mic to Deepti for her presentation in analytics. Thank you.
Thank you, Francie. I'm sure it was very helpful for everybody here, especially the different roles and how they are different in each aspect. So with that, let me pass it on to Deepti. We'll take a look at how her career journey has been in data analytics.
Thank you, Neha. I was actually struggling to unmute myself. So, hello everyone. So just for folks who joined a little later, I'm Deepti Tadala and I work as a product manager at Synacor, and I work on their consumer identity platform. So talking about analytics, if we can raise hands out there, all those participants who are product managers, are you able to raise your hand? I don't know if that feature is enabled. Okay, no problem. So all of us, right, no matter the role, whether we are product managers or whether we are in the analytics space or not, we are using data some way or the other. You might have observed that when you have to make some important decisions at work, or sometimes when you need buy-in from the other stakeholders, having a data base, like data points to prove your assumptions or your statements, is always an easier win as opposed to otherwise. So research says that 29% of us never collect analytics or data, and 30% of us never even review analytics or data. Just to kind of give you a little background, I had a previous technology consulting experience with one of the big 4 firms. And being a consultant, you're trained to think in terms of a template. So for any statement that you're making, for any line that you're writing, whether an email or user story, you need some kind of backup. And which means that we would be analyzing loads and loads of data all around and trying to make sense out of it in various forms, right? So, and that's how I got interested into data and analytics, even before it was deemed a thing or it was a stream of interest. Sorry, guys, I think I'm having a little trouble sharing. Okay. Sorry. I think I'm struggling a little with...
Yeah, even I was struggling. So we have to click.
I think I'm on Mac and my mouse is not working and this is awful, but I'm sorry. Some technical glitches there, but I think we'll be okay.
You have stopped your share.
Yeah, I did. I was just trying to navigate properly. Okay, so product managers, right? So we see that today there are a lot of product managers. Like we have product managers specifically for in the data science space, right? We have analytics product managers. Like if you go through LinkedIn and if you scroll through product manager jobs, there are different roles. I am a technical product manager, but because our firm is a mid-sized company and the scope of work on my platform is huge, I tend to lean towards a little more like product marketing stuff. I tend to work on product marketing stuff, go-to-market analysis. Again, it has got to do a lot with data and research, but I also tend to take up these little projects when I can, aside of what my roles and responsibilities called for. But no matter the type of PM you are, you will deal with data at some point or other. Like today, we use a lot of dashboards, like we use Splunk, and there's Insights Marketplace that we're using, and there are different siloed teams who all dump their data into say one data team, and then reports are created. But I think what sometimes what gives you an edge is if you are able to get your own hold on the data and you're able to analyze it, right? So on a day-to-day basis, right? Normally what a product manager, I think you must have heard this term in a number of places, you're called the CEO of your product, right? So we face a lot of challenges. Like just very recently, one of the challenges I had to face was I needed to get buy-in from the stakeholders for a solution that we're trying to propose, right? So it means that one way to do it is back it up by data. That's to say, analyze those reports and say, hey, if we adopt this feature, the engagement would go by XYZ%, and the churn you would reduce your churn. And because I work for an identity firm, right? My goal at the end of the day is to make sure that the user is able to sign in, just to enhance the whole sign-in, the onboarding, registration processes of the users, and make it as seamlessly as I can, as it's possible. So I would probably tell by adopting this feature, you can actually reduce the churn on specific, from for XYZ%, and the user would not have to go through this tiresome process of onboarding and registration, and he can access the application directly and ASAP. So these are some of the challenges that I face in a day-to-day basis, right? And when we are defining the roadmap, we're almost always, as a product manager, trying to evaluate the prioritization of one feature over the other, and how. Of course, there are other factors like the technology itself, and because we're product managers, and then we're dealing with a lot of IT components, we always want to align our product roadmap timelines with the other dependencies out there. But to even help the other teams de-scope some of their work and get yours on the priority list, there it's very data always comes into play, right? And reporting on the feature usage, like just I was talking about, like we usually have product launches, and metrics that are very, very important once we launch a product, because when you're launching a product, we go with a certain baseline metric saying, my engagement is going to go up by so and so, because, and again, we work a lot around authentication, authorization metrics and KPIs. So I'll say number of single sign-ons or unique users, or number of unique authentications, and these are stuff that we work around, would go by XYZ%. And as soon as there's a product launch, we're all excited looking at the dashboards, and then we'll say, oh, okay, the engagement, the authentication is probably not as I expected it to be. What could go wrong? So as a product manager, I don't think you would normally delve deeper into the whys and hows. That gets into a more like a technical product manager role. But I think personally, for me, I think it's always advantageous if you have that additional skill and zeal to dig deeper. For me, it's like I always like to go a level deeper and try and understand why is my metric being impacted, and how is it being impacted, right? Why, obviously, and how. What are the various components that could impact my metric? Sometimes I probably get into a little more technical detail than I'm not supposed to, but I think it's advantageous because then I figure out and I understand a lot of other dependencies that could be impacting my metric, and that is in turn impacting my customer, right? And by brainstorming stuff like these, sometimes you have like a eureka moment and you arrive at solutions that could be path-breaking there. So what you see on the slide are essentially some of the challenges that a product manager faces, and something that I've iterated over through my experiences, right? Another important question that we all need to ask is, do product managers lack critical data skills? But even more important, right? Does a product manager even require data skills? Like to what level, to what extent, right? If you see product managers, just because of the nature of the job, it varies with the company, it varies with the domain that you are working in. There are so many other factors that define your role as a product manager within your own firm. Not all of them analyze data. Not all of them not all of them work with data or work around data. Some product managers who are mostly customer facing, customer oriented product managers, all that they're interested in is looking at a dashboard, like a Tableau dashboard that's already built in for them, just a read-only access, and then say, oh, this number's going down and that number's going up. That's it. But personally, my personal experience, if I'm looking at column A and it's not reflecting the way it's supposed to, I like to do some correlation causation, right? So because and say, oh, X causes Y, possibly not. Y also could cause something else. So, correlation does not always equals to causation. And I think that's one principle I've tried to adopt in my work. And that's been a game changer for me. Just because how sometimes it enables, it's so empowering to make your own product decisions. Even for a matter like was working on the go-to-market analysis, sometimes I have to do pricing, and pricing in the sense, then we have to do a little competitor analysis and look at how competitors are taking their pricing, and then analyze our customers, our clients, and say, oh, what is the optimum number I could charge my customer and sell my product and yet earn a profit. So it's a simple question I'm answering as a product manager, but if I look at it from different angles, what's the customer data like? What's the market rate, right? And what's the minimum amount that my customer will buy in? And what's the minimum amount that I need to charge my customer and yet make a profit? These are all numbers that I'm dealing with, and it's all data. So there's a lot of information out there. You collect that raw information, you turn it and twist it and get into a form that's probably that's probably driving some of your business decisions. So do product managers lack critical data skills? I do not believe they lack critical data skills. I think we as product managers just need to empower ourselves to be able to use and understand data better. So this is a little picture I think would be very interesting. So when I was talking about product managers, specifically the customer facing or business facing product managers, if you look at the little box here that says Tableau or Looker, this is all people are concerned about, right? Or maybe you'll stretch a little and then say maybe some Excel spreadsheet that you might, but if you can, you don't have to. I think what's empowering, and especially in my own experience, and what gives me an edge probably is getting into a little deeper into this space, right? I'm notoriously known in my company for asking access to random things around. If there's an issue, like if there's a dashboard or something that I would explore, the first thing I would go and ask is, can I get an access? And if I need approvals, I'd go to my boss and say, well, I don't have access to this, but I need it. Why? I don't know, but maybe I'm going to figure it out, right? So I think what gives you an edge is, it could be a simple SQL script that you can write, right? But just looking at that data, the schema, the mappings, and say, oh, I have a silo A, I have a silo B, probably there's just one data exchange happening with both of them, and I didn't know they would impact my metric and how. So as a product manager, I think our knowledge sometimes is extremely superficial because we are focused on taking that taking that product and launching out into the market. So it's very, very superficial. And if there's one vertical wherein as a product manager, I would want to expand my my knowledge in depth and probably have a better grasp of things, it would definitely be data. So a little about how I got into data was when I did my master's, and from technology consulting, I knew that I wanted to become a product manager. And through my research, I found and realized that analytics and data is a very important part of product management, and at least it's important for you to have that dialogue with, say, a data scientist or a data analyst, even when you're giving requirements, right? I'm like, I need an analytics dashboard. What does it even mean? Right. And most of my analytics are around that one sign-in page that we might be hosting around the identity. So it helps me hold a conversation with a data scientist or a data analyst, or even a marketing analyst, as a matter of fact, within my company. So I curated my courses such that I had all the analytics courses in my electives. I had a predictive analytics course. I had a statistics course, and my goal was not to learn R or Python, though I was actually doing a project with the team members, and I did tell them, I'm not interested in learning R or Python. I just want to analyze that model a data scientist or data analyst would have built, data scientist would have built for me by applying neural networks. I want to understand what a predictive score is. So tomorrow, if somebody comes in and say, hey, this model is built with a predictive score of XYZ, I just need to be able to understand what it means. So I did my product management, my research was in product management and ID strategy, but I did all these side projects just to get acquainted with data and just to play around with data. I also took up a Tableau course, and that's because I wanted to be equipped with one tool. If you look very closely, if you know and understand one tool, the basic underlying concept is pretty much the same across all the tools. So it becomes very easier for you to handle new things if you are in your job environment. And then I took up my marketing analytics certification, and the certification was purely for knowledge. I didn't know if that certification would fetch me a job or would add weightage on my resume. But I did notice that during my interview process, and even at my firm, once I started on this role, I was able to have certain important conversations because I understood these concepts better. So I would definitely say the certifications helped me. What you see on the screen is essentially some of the things that you can take up if you want to be a data science product manager, right? For product management, I would say a CSM is probably a very good start, because most of the teams are moving to agile. Or you can take a CSPO or even pragmatic product master certification. That is very good. So these could be like a standards if you're a product manager, but depending on what kind of product manager you want to be, if you want to be a data science product manager, the Microsoft professional program, the data science certification, is really amazing. I've had friends who've taken this, and I used to just look around all these friends and just pick stuff from them, but people who've taken this and who are in the data science space are doing really great, and they can definitely vouch for it. And HackerRank is a standard place we all started from. I used to use this to practice all my SQL queries and play around with the data there. So you could use it any way you want. You can earn badges. My goal was to just learn the concepts and just move on. But again, if you want to be a product manager but not heavily in the data science space, I would advise everybody to take up at least one marketing analytics certification. As I mentioned, right, pragmatic is really high in the market. It's valued there. The one I took, Association of National Advertisers, is probably not as well known, but it definitely gave me the concepts and the edge that I needed to, and that I still use them in my workspace when I'm talking to my marketing team and when I'm talking to them in terms of their own metrics, right? It helps to maintain a conversation. So like I always say, it's the same thing, same story you're telling in your company as a product manager. It's the same story you're telling over and over again, but you're telling it in different languages to different people. And I think it's very important for us to learn that vocabulary of that language. And some of these certifications will help equip, enable us. I think I am a little over time, Neha, but I think so that's in short, everyone, that's pretty much my story and how I got into analytics. My goal was to be a product manager, and I just focused on acquiring those skills and learning those concepts that will give me an edge to be a product manager in any domain or any technology.
Thank you, Deepti. We don't have a lot of time for questions. We'll quickly take a couple of questions that we have from audience. The first question is for Frincy. What are some of the best practices in working with ML researchers, scientists, or engineers? Frincy, over to you.
Yeah. What I would see as, working with machine learning engineers or data scientists, it would be like, as a product manager or as a project manager or as a business development manager. So if you are a product manager, then your primary responsibility is to, create an AI product and understand the value that this product is going to create for your customers. So finding that key value is more important for you as a product manager. So for that, you need to understand um, uh, the some sort of language of data scientists or a machine learning. They might talk about some technical terminologies like, key metric. I'm doing mean absolute error, I'm doing an FN score. So these terms are more frequent in our conversations. So I would say, like, understanding these jargons and getting that conceptual understanding of this, it will help you to understand what is that business value I can create from this AI evaluation metrics and the key all the scores that this model is predicting. So as Deepti was also touching upon, so somebody is coming and telling you, this is your model, this is your scores. So how can I leverage that technical knowledge and convert that into a way that I can package this and create as a product and create value for business? That is where a product manager would need to learn and to so that they can create that good product out of AI solutions. So if you're a product manager, you might need to have that understanding of Scrum or Agile methodologies. So what is that AI product lifecycle looks like? What are the different touch points you should have, like in your product lifecycle? This is part is your your exploration mode. This is your modeling set, and what are the different milestones that you need to take through so that you successfully deliver a project. So these are the different key things that you need to understand as a project manager. If you are a business development person, you are looking to understand what is that opportunity in AI. What is that opportunity I am looking to find in the solution and deliver to the customer. So we try and understand what is the demand in the market, how we can use AI as a solution to some business problems to improve the business processes. And working with the machine learning scientists or researchers to understand those solutions would be more helpful in your role as a business development manager in AI.
Thank you so much, Frincy, for answering that. So next question to Deepti is, what are some soft and hard skills a PM should nurture?
It depends. Again, the hard skills kind of depend on what kind of PM that you're going to be. So if you have a very strong technical background, it would be great if you can focus on strategy. So as a product manager, sometimes you also have to work with legal and if your product is going to be launched in a different country, then you have to know the little economics of that country as well. So just diversifying your knowledge there, and a little focus on your marketing skills, if I may say so. And when it comes to communication, soft skills, I would say communication is the key as a product manager. Your both written and verbal communication is very, very important. You should be able to lead the product. And when I say lead, you are the face of the product. So whether something goes wrong, whether something, if it's a success, you get it. If it's not that a great success, you still will get to hear. So communication, I think, can bridge a lot of gaps, and be creative, I would say, is very important, because sometimes there are a number of ways you can solve the same problem, but but it's the most creative solutions that usually get buy-in from your stakeholders. So yeah, that's it. But and I think on soft skills, I would stress upon the uh, written communication more on than the verbal, because we focus so much on the verbal communication that sometimes the written communication gets less important. But as I moved into this role, I realized that when I'm putting in documentations, right? First of all, documentations, no matter how many documentations, right, they're never sufficient. But also writing effective documentations, being able to communicate what you have in your mind to those people out there, and whoever, and it's the same documentation for all kinds of audience as a product manager, right? Your marketing person is going to read it, your technology person is going to read it. It still has to make sense for everybody, and I think that's an art, and I'm still learning there. um, but if there's one other hard skill that I have to mention, is I would say learn more about design, because if, unless until you're from a design background, I don't see that we are exposed to design as much. And if you are from a business, so if you're from a business background, you are still exposed to strategy and economics, and all of that part. But design is not something we are directly exposed to, unless until you would have worked with a UI UX person before. But design plays a very important role as a product manager um, when you're trying to get to literally put that picture of your product from your brain onto the paper, and you're working with a design engineer. I think just understanding those nuances and concepts makes that communication a little easier, I think. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Deepti. So my next question is to Frincy. You touched about you touched on the AI product lifecycle. So what is the difference between AI lifecycle versus a regular standard product lifecycle?
So on an outline, like both software development lifecycle and AI lifecycles are kind of similar, but except two or three, or the starting and end point, whatever happens in between are more different in AI. So in a regular software development lifecycle, so it's more like you gather your requirements, you plan or design your product, then you code and test and then deploy your product. Then you just look at maintaining that product. So basically your software is developed on that set of initial requirements that you put together. But in an AI product lifecycle, it's more like you gather the requirements, but then you look at the data, derive insights, then you do a lot of modeling, and exploratory analysis and back and forth to get a better model. And then you deploy that model. So the model that is getting deployed is based on a specific data set rather than this initial requirements that you gather. So a change in your data sets could also affect how the model is performing over time. So that is some key difference in the different parts of the different life cycle, and how a software is different from an AI product.
Thank you, Frincy. My next question is to Deepti. Deepti, can you tell us about the KPIs that you use?
Sure. So as I mentioned, because my firm is the product line that I'm working in is an identity platform, I focus a lot on the number of authentications and authorizations, the number of new sign-ins per a day, and metrics around that. And most of my metrics revolve around the sign-in page, the number of sign-ins that I have, or say there's an onboarding flow. What's the churn on this specific page? How many users receive our promotional, say, emails or something, but and they click it, but they do not get to the onboarding. They do not complete the onboarding process. So what's the churn on the onboarding process like, but versus the number of clicks on the specific emails, and stuff like and stuff like that is something that I usually focus on a day-to-day basis. So.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Frincy, we all know that this event has been co-sponsored by Women in AI Canada. So maybe you can talk a little bit about Women in AI Canada.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure to talk about women in AI. So I'm a proud team member of Women in AI, which is a global community of around 6,000 plus members from around 115 plus countries. So we thrive and we try and organize a lot of events, do certain research and blogging so that we are trying towards a more gender inclusive AI. We try to empower women such that they try and learn from the some AI leaders and AI entrepreneurs on how can a woman step into AI and progress their career in AI. So we recently started launched our Canada chapter for women in AI. You're always welcome to join. We have a group on a page on LinkedIn. We have a Slack space as well where we kind of all the members are available, and there are a lot of channels where you can find job offers, lots of events and talks related to AI. You can always get, network with people, get some mentors, and you can always associate with the community. And if you are a machine learning, practitioner or an entrepreneur or a researcher, you can always contribute back to the community by sharing your knowledge, sharing your experience, sharing your career journey in AI, and empower others to do the same. So yeah, most welcome. Please feel free to join. You can if you need any more information, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn, and I am always ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, Francie. We are almost at the end of the hour, so thank you to our speakers, Deepti and Francie, for sharing their experiences and knowledge, and giving all this detailed information on how to start in AI analytics. Thank you to all the participants who joined us here. Have a good night, and thank you once again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Deepti.
Thanks, guys.